Hello folks, shintigercurl here, that dude in the straw hat, bringing you yet another wrestling review. I'm of course joined by my faithful associate and roommate Joe. Say hi, Joe. He's had a tough week. Now you're probably wondering why I didn't do a Raw review. Well, the fact of the matter is I was out of the house and I was unable to watch Raw because my best friend doesn't have cable. Thank you, Mr. Lopez. But I was able to entertain some female companionship. Giggity giggity. Well, anyway, that out of the way, it's time for me to catch up and do some Impact. Will it be as shitty as last week's apocalypse of shit storm that we had last week? I got my notes. Let's find out. Anderson comes out, and he's joined, of course, by a much older, larger, fat man, and a small little like board in the middle of the ring. You know those teaching boards that they have. Sorry, getting some root beer. Anyway, Anderson says that the man is his college math teacher, and it says he's there to help him do the math on why he should be the number one contender for the TNA World Heavyweight title. Now, the whole promo is pretty good. It's like a little send up to The Rock's "This Is Your Life" promo that him and Mick Foley did a few years back in the Attitude Era, and I liked it. It was, I don't know, it's just something about Mr. Anderson that I like. He's just so over the top and asshole-ish. Not a big fan of him saying asshole every few minutes, but it's just something. Anyway, before they do some quick math on the board until the teacher goes to leave, and Anderson says, "Wait a minute. You tried to cock block me by telling that girl I liked I was gay." And I was like, no. Well, I'm going to do something that all students have ever wanted to do against their teacher. And he gives him a mic check. Then Hogan and Bischoff come out to do nothing but stroke their cocks. As Bischoff says, "Hogan, I don't know why you're so high up on this guy. He's an asshole." And Hogan's like, "I like that about him, brother. He's an asshole, but he's my kind of asshole." And so of course Anderson gets in a debate like, "Where's my rematch? Where's my rematch?" And Hogan's like, "You didn't earn your rematch, brother. You need to earn your rematch." Then RVD comes out and we cut to a commercial break. Not doing good. You're pissing me off, TNA, with these talking segments. Get to some wrestling soon. Come back and RVD says, "Well, this is how we do it in professional wrestling. You talk smack about one wrestler and he comes out and you have to back up your smack." And RVD kind of gets on a shoot promo almost, saying that "I got tired of the politics, man, and then you were calling me, and Vince Russo were calling me, and Dixie Carter were calling me, so I had to come, but I need to understand, why did you build me up as a champion and then screw me over in the end?" Which is one of the many plot holes of the whole Immortal storyline. I mean, if Jeff Hardy was always going to be their champion, why bring Rob Van Dam in, make him champion, and then screw him over in the end? That doesn't make sense. Anyway, Hogan and Bischoff don't really listen to that. And then Sting comes out. And Sting says, "So you guys are not in charge? So you're saying well, guess what? The network called me, and they said that," well, just before I mentioned, Eric Bischoff made it number one contenders match, RVD versus Mr. Anderson. You smell that? It smells like shenanigans. You smell it, Joe? Joe smells shenanigans too. But anyway, Sting comes out and says the network called him and said that he was going to be the special guest enforcer. And if any shenanigans happened, then he would be in charge. It's his decision. So, but this segment was interesting because of the way Hogan and Bischoff acted and the way Anderson, RVD, and Sting acted. I mean, it's like Hogan and Bischoff are in their own little world, their own reality, where everything they say and do makes sense to only them. While Anderson, RVD, and Sting call out their plot holes. Like Anderson called out, "Wait, I thought you guys were in charge. Who the fuck is the network?" And RVD is like, "Well, if Hardy was supposed to be your guy, why did you bring me in to screw me over?" And Sting is like, "Well, so you guys want to bring out the network? Well, guess what? The network called me. They said I'm running things." And even afterwards, later on, when Anderson confronts Sting about the whole network deal, even Sting doesn't buy. He's like, "The network doesn't have a name. It's just the network." First match, Tara versus Mickie James. Now, I have to admit, this was a very good knockouts match. This was much better than what we've recently been having. Tara and Mickie are both consummate in-ring performers, and they both know each other's moves inside and out. So this was a good setup, as well as a setup for the hair versus title match at Lockdown. But anyway, Mickie James wins it. Madison Rayne, the woman of 1,000 gimmicks, comes out and just stares her down. "You're in trouble, Mickie." Next up, it's Okada, or Okado, as Taz and Mike Tenay like to call him, versus the Pope. Now, I did a little research thanks to my friend Royal. Yes, I'm calling you my friend, Royal. Deal with it. But anyway, I did some research, and I found some stuff that he did in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I have to say, Okada's got some talent. He's really got some talent. It's a shame he's being wasted in this angle, like everyone else in this angle is being wasted. And I don't care if it is Joe's angle. It's still a shitty angle. Anyway, Pope pretty much beats the crap out of Okada. Okada gets some offense early on, but the Pope just takes him to the woodshed. He even goes Ike Turner on him and uses a boot in front of the referee, and the referee doesn't do anything about it. He just says, "Hey, stop that. Okay, keep fighting." And then he takes off his glove and reveals his ring-covered hand, and then just hits Okada in the head again in front of the referee. And the referee's like, "No, don't do that. Wait, you never know. Well, never mind. Match is over. Okada wins." Okada may have won, but he looks so weak. I mean, Okada's been booked so weak. He's supposed to be Joe's bodyguard, and yet he's getting his ass whooped consistently. And then after a whole 2 minutes of a beating at the hands of Pope, finally Samoa Joe comes down, and time to save him. He's like, "Get the ambulance! Get the ambulance!" What happened to you, Joe? Next, we get some pretty good promos for Lockdown, with Sting talking about why he returned to TNA, and Kurt Angle's reasons for challenging Jeff Jarrett at Lockdown. Next up, we get a RVD Hogan promo. Not backstage promo, not much. Next, Ric Flair comes out, flanked by Bully Ray and Cold Cuts Fat Hardy. Now, I'll say this. Ric Flair and Bully Ray know how to cut good heel promos. They're bread and butter. This is what they do. Jeff Hardy, not so much. He just came off as preachy and arrogant and and I'm not really buying that whole cold-blooded name. That's a bad name for someone like Matt Hardy. It just sounds stupid. Anyway, they challenge Fortune to a 3-on-4 match at Lockdown. Fortune comes out and starts beating the crap out of the three until Abyss comes out. It's funny how the guy can move so well after getting killed in the back, after getting killed by taking a nailed bat to the back. Must be nice to be able to know self-death. So yeah, it's going to be Fortune minus AJ, since he's going to be in the hospital after last week, against Bully Ray, Fat Hardy, Ric Flair, and Abyss. Not sure about how I feel about that one. Alright. Next up, LAX comes out. Well, the new LAX, as I like to call them, made up of Hernandez, Sarita, and Rosita, the new Knockouts Tag Champions, and that new guy, supposedly named Esteban. And they cut one of the most mind-numbingly bad promos I've ever heard out of a whole group. It just sounded so terrible. And that Esteban guy needs to stay off the mic. Seriously, he sounded stupid. As for Hernandez, I feel so ashamed to have him come from Houston now. Just don't talk anymore, man, Hernandez. But anyway, apparently they're now Mexican Nazis. And they're saying that the Mexican-American race is the superior race to Americans. Or what kind of Americans? African Americans, white Americans, Jewish Americans, Italian Americans, Korean Americans, Japanese Americans? Who are you talking about, Americans? What kind of who are you talking about? You're just saying that all Mexicans are superior to every race that calls them, that has American in their name? Why? Hernandez comes off as Mexican Hitler like this. So anyway, Matt Morgan and Devon come out, and we have ourselves an impromptu match. It's Matt Morgan and Devon versus Hernandez and Esteban, Mexican street fight. Don't know what separates it from a regular street fight, except that it has Mexican in it. This is a sloppy. It was just all over the place. I just didn't like the taste of it. Anyway, what's her name? What's her name? One of the beautiful people. Velvet Sky comes out and tries to fight Sarita and Rosita, but she gets beat down. And then Angelina Love comes out with this total deadpan expression on her face, and she just walks down like she just rolled out of bed or something. She looked like she rolled out of bed. And then Winter comes out, and she uses magic fingers, as one of the posters on CBR said, and lures her back to her side as Rosita and Sarita beat down Velvet Sky. Back in the ring, not that anyone cared about the match, but Esteban hit Devon in the back with a chain. 1, 2, 3. The new Mexican Nazis win. This match just gave me a headache. Up next, Inc. versus Crimson and Scott Steiner. Now, as you will know, I will note that this match was supposed to have happened last week, but because TNA needed more room for talking last week, they cut it out. And I can see why. This was a good match. This would have majorly interrupted TNA's talking time. But anyway, I digress. This was actually a pretty good match. Very competitive. Crimson shows off a little more of his skills in the ring. And we get a little bit more story about the supposed rift between Jesse Neal and Shannon Moore. Crimson and Steiner win. But then Shannon Moore takes Scott Steiner's hair chainmail, and throws it at Scott Steiner. And there was a little back and forth cussing feud between Shannon Moore and Scott Steiner, and I just like that part. I don't know why. It was a good match. This made it even better. So, good on them for that. Next up, RVD versus Mr. Anderson, #1 contenders match, with Sting as special guest enforcer. Now, the reason I said shenanigans earlier, because the last time these two were in the ring together in a #1 contenders match, it ended foobar. We had no finishes. First time, double count out. Second time, double pin. What we're gonna have? What kind of finish are we gonna have now? Well, overall, this was a very good match. Now a lot of people think that I hated the Anderson and RVD in the ring together, but I don't. I know these two can pull off a good match. They have. Their match at Victory Road was one of the little highlights, one of the little shining points of the whole of the pay-per-view that didn't suck except for the finish. Anyway, midway to the match, ref takes a bump, so Sting jumps in the ring, acts as referee, as is his right as an enforcer. It goes outside the ring. Anderson hits a hellacious mic check on RVD into the post, and he is out. So he goes into the ring, and I hope he was going for a count out, I guess. And him and Sting have some words, and soon they come to blows, and then the bell rings. And everyone assumes that since Mr. Anderson struck the enforcer, then that means RVD's the #1 contender. They fight for a little bit. Then backstage, after the match, RVD is clearly out of it. Either he hit that bell a little bit too hard, or he smoked a fatty in between commercial breaks. But he was out of it. He actually thought, he's like, "Oh, I gotta get ready for my match." He was actually getting ready for his match he already had. And somebody was telling him, "No, Rob, no, you won the match. You're a #1 contender. You have to fight Sting tonight." "No, I gotta get ready, man. I don't know what I didn't get my bell rung," and he just acting as high as all that be damned. And I'm like, "Whoa, did you do the puff pass or something with Shannon Moore and backstage or something? What did you do, Rob?" Anyway, cut to Anderson. He is pissed, and he's thinking that Sting is dodging him. Cut to Sting. Sting says that he didn't ring the bell. He has no idea who rung the bell. He has no idea why anyone would ring the bell. He didn't call for the bell to be rung. Then Anderson comes up and he's like, "Why did you ring the bell? Why did you ring the bell? I didn't ring the bell." And so they get into it, and they start fighting again until D'Lo Brown gets in between them and stops them. Because everyone knows, do whatever you want, but you don't fuck with D'Lo Brown. You don't throw down with the Brown. He'll mess you up. So that was Impact. My verdict: this was not a totally bad Impact. Unlike previous weeks, this one actually had more wrestling. A lot of it was not very good wrestling, but we had more action. Some of the promos were good. Anderson's and RVD's and Sting's were pretty good. And some were not so good. The whole new LAX thing just... Some people just need to be seen and not heard. That's your group, Hernandez. Don't talk, just do. And the last match, of course, was great. It's just the shitty finish. That's what I've been saying. I knew the match was going to be good. It's the finish that I didn't like. And once again, TNA, you do not disappoint. I knew it was going to be a shitty finish, and you gave it to me. So that was Impact. Like I said, my thoughts, not good, but still better than last lockdown. So that's saying that. So it's a meh episode. You can watch.
And if you want, watch. If you don't want to watch, it's up to you. Did you enjoy it, Joe? He is a fan of Scott Steiner. Well, anyway, that's my review of Impact. Tune in tomorrow when we review SmackDown. And if judging by the spoilers, we're going to have a title change. I'm not going to say who, not going to say what. I'll leave it up to you. But anyway, this is shintigercurl, that dude in the straw hat, and Joe, saying goodnight and wrestle on.